Hello, everybody. This is Paul Herman, the Prince of Motivation and host of Zaka Presents My Journey. We're creating this vulnerable and positive platform where you can get inspired and motivated from different leaders from our community. Today, our guest is Frandy Peña, who is the founder of Mission Barbers and Mission Haircraft. Frandy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys.
It is a pleasure to have you on. And just a little disclaimer for the audience members. Franny and I go way back, right? I'm talking about
Yep.
school days, right? Learned a lot from this young man, so it's an honor to have you on the show. And as always, Frandy, it is always a blessing to see you smiling because that was one
Thank
thing
you.
that I would always remember you for is the way you would just walk into a room and just light up the room with that smile. So,
Thank you. Well, likewise, man. Yeah, I think the same thing about you. So you and
ah,
Greg, the same, man.
Is this the
This will be
vibe? Is this the
fun.
vibe? Is this the
That's
vibe?
it.
So before we dive into all the big questions, let's get the listeners tuned in first to let them know a little bit more about your cultural background and where you grew up.
Yeah, for sure. My parents are from the Dominican Republic. They both came over. My mom, I think she was like around like 14 or so. My dad when he was about 19. They met, and got married and everything. But from the Dominican Republic, I was born in New York, about 35 minutes, 40 minutes outside of New York City.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's my background there. But my family is huge, aunts and uncles and cousins. So grew up in a tight knit family.
Mhm. And any siblings?
Yeah, I have one sister. She's in Florida.
Okay, okay. Like so, growing up in a Dominican household, just give a little bit of an understanding of that. Like, what was that
Yeah,
vibe like?
yeah. So it was very loving. I was very fortunate that my parents were very loving to each other and to us, and having just like tons of cousins and people they call cousins that were maybe second cousins or just people uh, that grew up with them. Like the whole childhood, and like, hey, that's your cousin and that's your uncle. So it's confusing at times. Um, but
True.
like all in all, regardless, it was just a lot of get-togethers, a lot of food, just good times, supportive and drama like any family, but
Mhm.
like deep, deep love and care for each other. So I was very fortunate to grow up like that, and we try to keep that going and stuff.
So let's just dive into that. I started the conversation off with that smile, right? But
Um,
you're kind of hinting on the fact that the family was known for like the community base. You know what I'm saying?
mhm, mhm.
Despite the hardships that might have gone on and stuff like that,
A lot.
staying together. So where does this character of Franny come from? Where it's the nice person? Obviously, I know you're
No,
nice
thanks.
when you need to be, and get a little stern when
Yeah,
you got to be.
yeah.
Um, but like, where did this come from?
I would say like from my parents and what they were taught, was just always like helping like other people out. Like, and I know my grandmother, she used to be like a seamstress in town, and she used to do a few things, and people would pass through their town, like in the countryside, and you would like lend things to them. Like everybody was about like sharing your talents and sharing what you have, and if you had a piece of bread for the family and somebody came over, then you break it in half or whatever it is, right? So that was shown to me by my parents at an early age. Um, my parents grew up on dirt floors, and shack houses and stuff like that, um, and then when they moved here, it was just about like trying to progress and support each other. But the family grew up in both sides, my parents and my mom's, was they would have like a household, like a house that they bought back in the day. And then all the family members like started there. And when you moved, it was to buy a house, ideally, but all the brothers and sisters, they would chip in to help save up the down payment for that sibling, and then they will go on, and then the next one. So it was like setting each other up and like giving what you have. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit or it's a lot. And there was never like a lot, right? But it's like making do, and if like everybody helps each other out, like it's a better place. So that started early on, and then with my wife Lisette, she's from that same cut from the same fabric, and we try to do the same. But we've had so many struggles, like in our marriage, in the sense of things we had experienced, like when the market crashed, and if it wasn't for
Mhm.
family, like we probably would have been in the streets. But
Mhm.
it's like that love from like family and friends, which is family in the community that's helped us out. So it's something that we feel like treating other people and smiling and just trying to make somebody's day better. Like to us, that's the most important thing.
Mm. And I think that's, what you're saying is very crucial because a lot of the thought leaders that have come on the show emphasize the thing about just being kind, right? Just being a human being, right?
Hmm.
Being able to have that empathy, that gratitude,
Yeah.
for a lot of things in life, and I feel like lending a helping hand is very important when you can, right? But
Hmm.
you've always been that type of individual that I've known you for. Could you give an
Thanks.
example in like your teenage years where you felt like you got to see firsthand like how empathy works and how like generosity can play a major factor in your life in the many years to come?
Yeah. 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 I mean, like I was very fortunate, like once my parents like got their thing going, they worked really hard and they were able to provide for us. Um, but I just remember like other like my family and parents just helping out other families that were, just starting off, especially like other immigrant families like ours. Just really like giving whatever they can to try to help people. Just try to help people. And I know like my wife's family also, um, like family will like move in with them like temporarily, whatever it is. So the same thing will happen with us if there was like a new cousin like coming from the Dominican Republic as they transitioned over, like they would live at our house, kind of like temporarily until they got on their own 2 feet. So I only saw it's like only saw that kind of like throughout my life. My parents used to do a lot of like volunteer work and things like that within the church. So I just also always saw them active, you know.
Mhm.
I don't know if that
It's
kind
a,
of
it's a,
answers, but I can't think of like one specific um uh like incident, but it was something that was pretty frequent.
just the thought of you saying, whenever a family member would transition from, Dominican Republic or wherever, having a
Uh,
place to stay
mhm.
during that transition, that alone, seeing it, and it wasn't like you saw it once, you saw
Yeah.
it multiple times, right? And
Hmm.
not for the same person, for different individuals in the family, right? And some of
Hmm.
them you might have not even known that well, but just to see
Yeah.
that your family was willing to open a door, or your cousins or your aunts or whatever the case may be, were willing to open a
Hmm.
door for someone, let them stay, help put them up, help them find a job if possible, and things like that in order to get them started. And then contributing to some financial gains for that person to hopefully buy themselves their own property and then starting that ball rolling again. So your family really had a system going on over there.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
imagine how many of y'all have come over now and got
Yeah.
your own cribs, your own
It's
houses.
insane. It's insane.
Congratulations on that. And
Thank
it
you.
brings me to another question. Obviously having a large family, and having everyone having their own talents. Where did the passion for cutting hair come up? Like, I'm thinking back to school. Were you cutting hair back in the school days, or was it like something
Yeah.
that you grew to love later on?
No, it started in like my junior year in high school. And it started from me just thinking like, oh, that'll be fun. Just I had experience of like going into the barber shop and being in that like vibe and that culture. Um, but it kind of really like I wanted to start cutting my friends hair. I thought it'd be fun, a little like side hustle for me to do. Um, but a lot of my friends were getting like the short, like zero fades, and my parents were super strict, and I wanted that. They're like, "Oh yeah, you can get a fade with like a number 8." I was like, "That's not
Like,
a
no,
fade.
mom,
I'm
it's
sorry.
not cool. That's
No,
not
no,
cool,
no,
mom.
no, no, no." So I would ask the barbers to like kind of like mess up or do it short, and they're like, "No, no, we know your parents. We know they're not, cool with that." Then I'll tell them, "Hey, say that I moved and you messed up and now you got to bald it out." And they're like, "No, we're not doing that." So I was like, "All right, I'm gonna learn how to cut my friend's hair. Comfortable enough where I'm gonna learn how to cut my own hair, and I'm gonna mess up on purpose so I could get a short fade."
So
And
you have
that's
a
how,
whole plan.
and that's how, yeah, I had a plan, man. That sandwich was getting made, like my mom used to say. So that's
Okay.
how it started. And then I started cutting my teammates' hair, my coaches, and the dean of students in high school, um, like during study hall and practice. So that's how it started. And then when I went over to, before I was gonna go to Sacred Heart, the barber that I was going to, it was in the afternoon, and he used to go out a lot and stuff. But he was like, "Oh, I need to go get a sancocho, which is like a Spanish soup that has everything in the kitchen sink and the fridge in there." And then it's kind of like a hangover. soup, right? So he was like, cut this next client here. I'm gonna go get a sancocho from the restaurant next door, and I'm gonna send you a page, like on your beeper, or send me a page on my beeper, so I know to come back, and this way I can touch up whenever it gets, you know,
Yeah.
whatever needs to get done. So he came back, and the client was cool with it. He came back, he didn't have to touch up anything, and he lost two of his barbers to open up a shop. That opened up a shop across the street. So
Damn.
he was like, "Hey, he's like, I know you're gonna go away to school in Connecticut, and you want to have your fun, but when you come back here, like every 3 weeks or so, call me up the day before, and I'll have your station ready if you want to work." So I did that, made some money, and then right there, I took my clippers to shoe, and that's when I started cutting hair for like $3 a haircut. Uh,
Okay,
yeah,
come on, three
and
bucks.
that's it. Yeah, but this
Hey,
barber, he was asking me, he was like, "Oh, I see you doing some of your friends' hair," like before he offered me that, and was like early on, and he was like, "It's not finished, you know." So, and like your edge ups, why, why isn't it coming up sharper? I was like, "Well, I don't know how to use a straight razor yet, and my edge up machine is a cheap battery powered one." Um, so he fixed up a machine and gave it to me, and that's really where it started.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Like I
And then
mean,
throughout my
this
career, it was just like I used to love connecting with people, spending that time with them, making some extra money. I thought it was kind of like cool. Like, oh, you're a barber, you're fresh. Like it was, you get to know people, and yeah, so I loved it for that.
that's something I do acknowledge and appreciate about barbers or stylists. Being able to have that type of you have to have a community type of attitude. You got to
Hmm.
be open to having conversations because you want that person. You're gonna be sitting with that person maybe for 45 minutes an hour, right?
Hmm.
That dead silence is crazy, right?
Yeah.
You got music playing, but that's why growing up in the '80s in the Bronx and going to some of these barbershops, I remember it felt just like what you see in the movies, like in the barbershop movies and
Oh, it
stuff,
was.
where you could sit down and everyone's that one person that never left the barbershop, they go there directly
Yeah.
in the morning, is sitting there reading a newspaper, talking about everything that happened in the news, and like you would see so many people come in, kids, adults. It's one of those places that people sometimes take for granted, but you could see the amount of diversity that comes through that room. You
Yeah.
know,
Absolutely.
and I could only imagine how you feel as a business owner now, being able to duplicate that, replicate that over and over every single day.
Yeah. No,
That's good.
it's super special, and um, when I was going through like depression and stuff, and I work on it, like every day. Um, that was one of the biggest things. And well, when I left IT was I get that satisfaction and that joy or like that completion that I did something right. Like every 30 minutes, 45 minutes, where like working on the big IT project, it could take months, and years and the different changes. So I get that like gratification for better, for worse, like right away and often, but that connection with the community, with my friends, with new people,
Yeah,
sharing your story, I think is big. Like
priceless.
successes, struggles, everything, and like connecting. And then that's why I think I've been called to barber because I think that's one of my talents. But then also like it, when we think we're helping out other people, inherently we even helping out ourselves without even like
True.
doing it for that, right?
That is true.
Um,
That's true.
yeah. So that, to me, that's like a big part of it, and just like being supportive for each other and things like that.
And how did like your upbringing in New York kind of like help in this mission?
I think being able to understand people from all walks of life because there's so much diversity there. Like one from the immigrant, the neighborhood I grew up with, like that street was mainly like Italian. And I had um a lot of friends from different places and then my parents. Um, so in my school I had Asian. In my high school and like grammar school, I had a lot of like Haitian friends too. Some of my mom's best friends were Haitian that they worked with. So then I was friends with their sons. So I felt like I was able to be friends with people from so many different places, and that's not what we look at. You know what I mean? Even different religions, and then
Yeah.
appreciating that, and then I feel like I can relate to a lot of people here from my
Hmm.
career stuff, from school, from upbringing, from that open, I think like mindset. Um, yeah, so that definitely has helped me throughout my life.
and I know obviously barbering wasn't or styling was not a major at Sacred Heart. Maybe not now,
Nice.
maybe not dead, maybe
Yeah,
now. Who
yeah,
knows?
no, no.
Right? Because Sacred Heart's been growing and developing over the many years in our absence. What was your major?
It was a computer science with a minor in business.
Mm,
And then later on, online, I ended up doing much later on, during my professional career, then I did my MBA with the concentration in project management.
mhm. And you did that. You were in IT, and if I'm correct, you worked in the fire department. Is that correct?
No, I volunteered and I was
Oh,
working to get
volunteer.
into one. Yeah, and then I was working to get into one, and that's when the market crashed.
And that's when in
Then I
20
shifted.
shifted to
Yeah,
like
like
barber.
29. Yeah,
Okay.
well, that's when it shifted back into IT with like more of a focus of project management and healthcare. And then after so many years, I was like, I need like, and going through depression and stuff. I was like, I need to change life now, because I was trying so many different things. Um, and I just needed a change, and I needed something that was more outward focused. And but
Yeah,
but it
you
was hard
have.
because I had like, not that I looked down upon barbers, but in my head I was like, I invested all this money into school, all this time trying to climb up the corporate ladder, had some success, things like that, and then I was just like, oh, I'm gonna do a blue collar job, you know. And then also I wrongfully associated the lifestyle of certain barbers that I grew up with or like around with the career. So I was like, no, you don't have to
Mm,
be that certain way. You don't have to be that type of husband. You don't have to be that type of dad. And I saw different examples, but I never thought of like meshing it all together and being my
see.
own version of that and creating an experience, not just for my clients, but for the community and giving back that I never saw before. So it wasn't until I was like, you know what, I can create this. And when I had that confidence to feel like I could create my own path, I could create my own company, I could create my own culture, like I could do this, and I'm worthy and man enough to do this.
And when did you open up the company?
Uh 2019, 2020. So like 3 months before COVID.
Whew.
Yeah.
Hey, Frandy, come on,
That's
man.
another podcast. That's a whole nother
Oh
podcast.
Lord, Lord, 3 months
Yeah,
before
that's
the
a whole nother.
that
Yeah. And I was by
that's
myself. I was in a small salon suite by myself. And then now it's 11 barbers
11 barbers. And where are you located so the listeners know?
in Arizona, in Gilbert, Arizona.
11 barbers working for you.
I'm the 11th barber. So
Okay.
works for myself too. But yeah.
But
So 10
you're
additional barbers and then me. I'm the
well, you're the number one barber and you have 10 other barbers
the
after you.
the other barbers in the room are way better. But that's what it's supposed
Uh
to be like. Lift each other up and you know,
look
learn.
at that. You still keep the community everywhere you go.
No, trying to.
Jeez. But see, but that's important. If you they always say if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it, right? So if it
Mhm.
worked for your family back then, if it worked for you in
Uh,
college and building the connection that we have that's lasted for many years, and then going into like where you are now, like we there's a big connection and a parallel that runs alongside, and that's community. That's
Oh,
connection,
100%.
authentic connections that you make with people. And in our profession, in a sense, I'm not a barber, but in a profession where you
Oh
obviously
yeah.
service, right? It's
hmm
important to have that. If you really want to scale the business, I mean, you can have all the right clippers, but if you don't make
hmm
someone feel comfortable in that seat, it ain't gonna work.
hmm Yeah.
From the crying baby to the elderly man, like
Yeah.
everyone's got to feel
Everything.
amazing, and you got to make people look beautiful or feel
Yeah.
good about themselves. So you
Yeah.
already got another challenge right there.
No. But and I think another part, and I'm sure it'll come up later on, but I definitely don't want to forget it, is like those connections that you make is having like mentors alongside of you because you don't know it, and like being humble and understand that we don't know it all. But
Mhm.
let's say like you, like I could lean onto you for something, or I could lean onto Greg for something, or somebody else and be like, you know what, they're really good in finance, or they're really good in this other area, or they're really good at marketing.
Yeah,
Um, let's work together on something, or what can I learn from you? And I have like certain mentors, and I lean on them. So I feel like I have heads of different departments in my company, and I'm small, but it's like I don't have to be small, I have to think small.
yeah. That's good. It's good. I mean, you got to lean on. No one, Rome wasn't built in a day, and obviously nothing was built by itself, right? You
Yeah.
need two hands still,
Yeah.
right? To build it. And obviously, the more hands you have, granted, you still need to be the leader. You still need to be the
Yeah.
captain.
Uh-huh.
So I know
For sure.
leadership does play a major role, which kind of talk a little bit more about later. But what was like if you want listeners right now tuning in to the work that you do, what is the mission that you want people to kind of walk away from when it comes
Hmm.
to missions barbers?
Yeah. So with both Mission Barbers and Mission Haircraft, we want you to look good and feel good, but it's to the point of where we want you to bring out the best version of yourself so you can share it with others. Um, we do a lot of work with kids in foster homes. That's really our main thing. We work with kids in foster homes that we volunteer, cutting their hair. With the product company, we make gift boxes with like journals, motivational quotes, different things for them, like workbooks for kids in foster homes. We've done stuff for the homeless before. We do a lot of things for like military and first responders. So it's all about like giving back and then giving people like the love and hopefully the confidence that they need. And we could be a small part of that.
Mm, mm, mm. And in a little bit before, you mentioned about a key word which has come up several times in conversations with our thought leaders when dealing with struggle. Obviously, anxiety, depression, mental health is a very big
Mhm.
thing, right? And I know you speak openly about it and how to create more safe spaces to help
Yeah.
individuals, right? So how do you create this atmosphere for your
Yeah.
barbers? I mean, it's
Yeah.
a challenging environment. Even though it might seem like people are just cutting hair, it
Mhm.
does get a little tasking on the body,
Yeah.
standing up, working arms, whatever the case may
Hmm.
be. But then also just clients, dealing with clients on a regular
Yeah.
basis. Sometimes
Yeah.
people can never please everybody, right?
Yeah.
So how do you deal with creating and cultivating a safe
Yeah.
space to help with that?
That's a great question. And there's a couple of things that contributed to that. I think it starts with being vulnerable yourself and then being like outward focused and sincerely wanting to like learn about your client, right? So you understand what they're going through, like in conversation, they feel comfortable with you because they know you're real, right? And you're focused in on them. But the way I set up the barbershop, it's not one big open space. I have small rooms. So it's two barbers in a room. So I have four rooms, right? And then I have three floating barbers. So that right there, when a client comes in and I greet them and everything like that, and they get to us how they get to us, it's like, hey, how you doing today? Have that conversation. What do you want to listen to? Do you just want to relax? Do you want to talk? Do you just want to jam out? So
Mm,
it provides a more intimate space. So that, when I started off by myself, it was like being um and we do a lot of volunteer work around like mental health and like suicide prevention. And we got trained to be mental health advocates. But from the beginning, it's the way you present yourself and how you're open with them and like that, just like that relationship. But definitely having the smaller rooms, I say, is a huge part of it because people feel more comfortable. They feel it's more intimate. They don't have to worry about what eight other barbers and eight other clients and then eight other people waiting in the waiting room might be
mm,
staying, so they feel they're able to be more vulnerable and talk because they feel like it's a more private space. Um, Having trainings in mental health and doing a lot of things, like that around mental health, I think helps us take us to the next level as far as what we can offer our clients, how we can provide resources for them, see signs of depression and anxiety, um, and do things like that.
that's amazing. That's amazing that you obviously value that and then you pass that on to your staff members.
Yeah, and they
Make
just
sure
try to
they
carry
feel
it on.
safe.
They see what it's
Yeah,
like, and then they carry it on. That's like their expectation.
that's important. I know that's a lot of our thought leaders that have come on have expressed about how you know other organizations that they might have worked for may have not put that in the forefront, and
Mhm.
that's how people get burnt out. That's what people want to quit. People are having hard times not just in the office, but then taking that stuff back home,
Mhm.
and it could lead to so many more downfalls within any type of relationship. But it's
Yeah.
very important, and I think that as a barber, as a stylist, you know, in that environment where you're talking to somebody, you're someone's therapist at that point in time in the chair.
Hmm.
Because people
Yeah.
just venting. They be coming in there
Yeah.
stressed out, and you
Oh
gotta be
yeah.
like, Woo, you the fifth one that came in here just like that,
Yeah,
and still be able to provide that smile, that
yeah,
genuine energy and stuff like that. So kudos to
yeah.
you and your whole team.
No, thank you. I mean, and I have to give a lot of credit to my wife too, Lisette, because she is part of the interview process. She is part about like plays a big part in the culture here and our volunteer work. She's in the background working on those things, but part of the interview process is, are you going to create a safe place for your clients, for the families, for the moms that bring their kids over here? Are they going to feel comfortable around you? Are you going to feel comfortable with your kids because you have that time with them? And are you going to be a good influence or a bad influence? You're going to help or you're going to make it worse? So she focuses on that a lot and like who we bring into the team. Um, like being compassionate and having empathy is like one of the biggest things that we look at.
And when it comes down to juggling stuff, like obviously you got Mission Barbers, you got Mission Haircraft. Talk to us a little bit more about that grooming company now, because I mean, I got kind of got the little bit more of a clearer understanding of the barber side of it,
Uh-huh.
barbering side of things, and the barbershop itself. But like, talk to me a little bit more about the Mission Haircraft.
Yeah. So I just wanted to have quality products that were affordable for people. Um, I wanted giving back to the community and not just saying it, but doing it like in the forefront and in the center of what we're doing. Uh, yeah, we have some quality products from like pomades, matte paste, hair volume powder, natural body soaps. This one cool body like performance powder that we call astronaut is a space team. um,
Okay, okay.
yeah, but it's like a gold bomber that's healthy for you, like all natural. We have beard products. Um, yeah, and then like when people order online, they get like drawings from the foster home kids that we volunteer with. We
Come
have the drawing,
on,
then we mass produce it. We have
come
like
on.
these like 41 and like one like these metal tool cards and it has like a motivational saying on it and like like a credit card, but it has like 40 tools like built into it. And we have some other things coming down the pike, but yeah, we just try to incorporate like love and feeling good and confidence and sharing like in that company as well. And it's definitely more in the startup phase, but we're taking steps to the right steps, I feel like,
Oh,
to
you
take it
you
forward and
definitely
keep
are.
on growing. It takes time
I,
though. I wanted it to happen yesterday, but I know good things take time.
true, true. Anything in life that that we
Yeah.
want to that we really
Yeah.
want to acquire does take time, right? And it
Yeah. And
takes
definitely
time
some
because
struggles and learning, right?
yeah, I think the time that it takes is also like us finding who we are going to be
Yeah.
because the person that we are when we start to the person that we are in the business is totally different, right?
Hmm.
So
100%.
in order to provide the best service, the quality service to our members, we need to kind of find ourselves in the mix of it. Like, what do we
Hmm.
really stand for as owners? We can might like, oh, I'm going to open this barbershop. We're going to cut hair, but then you got to say to yourself, well, what does that mean for me? What does
Hmm.
it mean for me to be a father, a role model, a leader? Am I going to be able to juggle those roles and manage
Hmm.
all that? And it brings me to my next question. You're juggling a lot right there, and you're doing a
Yeah.
fine job. So shout out to the whole family,
Thanks.
because I know you can't do it all by yourself. And shout out to your wife as well.
Oh yeah. Big shout
But
out to her.
yeah, an amazing father, husband. Talk to me about how you are juggling being a leader, a father, a husband, an
Yeah.
entrepreneur in a day, and then do it
Yeah.
again the next day.
Yeah. So I struggled with that before for sure. Still work on it, need improvement, but the thing that's helped me the most being able to do that is not overthinking, being confident in yourself, just being present and being true to yourself. Being true to yourself, try to stay organized and look at the tools that you need, whether if it's technology, whatever it is, like know your style of what works for you, continuous improvement. And like I was saying before, is having the right mentors and the people around you, from psychiatrists to psychologists, if you need that, counselors, mindset coaches, different partners, accountants, everything. You know what I mean? Like to me, like there's no way I could juggle those things without those people and without those tools. But it takes years
Yeah,
to develop them, and you're always working on it. But I tried before to do it like on my own or not, bottle things up like many men do. I want to speak for all men, but many men do. And then when you look at like a cultural background, even more so,
Yeah.
you know, like uh so like learning to get over that, and then and actually like leaning on somebody, not being like shy about it and being able to express yourself and ask for help. Right. That's another thing that a lot of us don't do is ask for help.
That's that's always been a big thing here at the show. You know,
Yeah.
the thought leaders have said, whether themselves, their family members, or other individuals that come from the same similar backgrounds, it's very hard to kind of advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
And you've been advocating for yourself and for your community over the many years, being in so much involvement within the community. Um, when you look back at all the causes um, that you have kind of donated your time to, I know you said foster care is a very big one. Is there
Yeah.
any other cause out there that means so much to you?
Yeah, the mental health ones, we do these classes called like Tuesday talks, where we bring in professionals to talk to parents or kids over 18 regarding suicide prevention, trauma, just different topics. To me, that's like so important because we're losing so many kids nowadays and people nowadays to like suicide and other like mental health like illnesses and damage that they're causing to themselves. And I don't know if it's happening so much more because of like social media and I think expectations that people have. I can't imagine growing up in today's like age. Um,
Mm.
it's just different. So to me, it's just so important to help out these kids because I know when in my darker days, and again, we go through this all the time and continuous, and it's not like, oh, it's past me and I'm completely over it, but it's like um sometimes the thought of it's not going to get better, or I'm in this hole, I'm in this darkness, I don't even see the light of day, and I
Yeah,
don't know when I could get over this or if there's a solution. It doesn't rain forever, unless maybe like you're in Oregon and it's like raining all the time. But then,
yeah.
even though
The
the
sun
sun
will come.
still
Yeah, the sun will
shines,
come
the
up.
sun is
Like
gonna
Annie
come, and
said.
this green is gonna grow. You know what I mean? But it's like I think this like almost like this ultimatum of this like all or nothing feeling can be so overbearing. So to me, it's like helping bring light to that, like darkness, and you try to help people through it, whether the biggest bro hug or the haircut, the conversation, whatever it is, just like it just be there for people. So to me, the foster home thing is very important, but like the suicide prevention, mental health stuff, uh, to me is like critical and like so important and stuff because that impacts us every day, right?
Mm. You- it's one of those things that like we don't know it does sometimes, but it really does.
Mhm.
And it's like it's out of sight, out of mind when you come home. Sometimes you're like, all right, I'm with my family, but it still
Mhm.
did happen, right? You still went through it. You still had to go through it, and and to wake up every single day, again, everyone deals with their own mental in their own
Mhm.
mental capacity, but it's
Mhm.
important that even an organization is yours, right? A
Mhm.
barbershop. People are like, it's just a barbershop. But you see how like important it is to you, it that puts the fire under those corporations, large corporations that have hundreds and thousands of employees, but not putting that in the forefront. And you got a
Mhm.
barbershop with 11 individuals, you being that number one and 10 after you, right? And that's something to talk about. That's something where you're like, it just shows. And I always say that the energy and the atmosphere of an organization, it starts at the top with the leader, right? You have made this a part of your life, and it's kind of trickled down, and it's beautiful to hear you even speak of it because again, barbershop is just a barbershop to some people, but to you, it's really a lot more than that, and it shows in the work that you do, not just in the
Thanks.
hairlines that you create or the hairstyles that you provide, but in the words that you're speaking into people, breathing life into people, making them feel better about themselves, looking better, but also feeling better about themselves, and providing outlets to get help.
Yes,
That
100%.
that
Yeah.
that right there, bro, you do a lot.
Yeah. Thanks,
I'm
man.
just gonna
Thank you,
I'm
man.
just
No,
gonna
no, no,
clap it up.
no, no,
I
no.
already knew you were
Thank
doing
you.
a lot of work out there, Greg as well too. We both know that you were putting a lot of work, but it's also so good to hear from the horse's mouth,
Thanks, man.
right? Versus just
Appreciate
seeing
you.
it on the Instagram and social media platforms, hearing it
Thanks,
from you,
man.
and to know that you're gonna get off this meeting right here and get right to doing it. Like
Thank
that's
you.
your life.
Thank you. Yeah.
You are about that life. Do you feel like your immigrant background has truly helped you in the development of your businesses and just entrepreneurship?
Yeah. And sometimes I like I didn't realize it till later on. Um, but definitely like the struggles that my family went through, even the struggles like that we go through, and I don't want to like, be playing like a violin or anything like that. But I feel that like as immigrants, especially like people of color, right? There's like there's other obstacles that we face that sometimes other people don't have to face, or we have to prove that we belong, right? Or that we know, or that we have this experience, or that we're capable of. So like seeing my parents like do it, even though they did what they could, right? Um, but I think like that grit and like that person, like that feeling, or like that way of life of like we're gonna get through this, and it came from nothing, like nothing, like nothing, like tin roofs, that they went through that and then be able to get us to like where we were like growing up and putting us through these schools, and like
Hmm.
helping out and stuff like that. Uh like there's just a certain grit about it because it's not like they were born into like a big wealthy like family. And no knock to people that do. And it doesn't mean that they don't have that grit. But but there are challenges that I feel like that are like parents and generations of before like went through that like help us. And if we take some of that, then it's gonna help us also. It's like it's not gonna hurt us if we kind of like embrace it and try to learn from that and incorporate that. So and still to this day, like those things, like there's things that I face with potential new clients,
True.
like wanting my
True.
services or not, because they may think something else of me, so I get to prove myself like every day, you know. And then I want to make my parents proud, I want to make my wife proud, the community proud, our people proud,
Mm,
I want to make everybody proud, right? But I think there's something that we go through, and then also like the giving back part, like it means a lot to me when we can help out kids, in certain situations, or like when we think about like even at Sacred Heart, remember when we do like the volunteer work for like the
yeah.
kids in the inner city? Like I wouldn't say that we wouldn't have, but like we grew up in certain situations that wanted us when we're in the position to help out.
Yeah. That was always something that was always brought up in the
Yeah.
Caribbean household.
Yeah.
Like, yo, help out.
Yeah. And then you feel like, all right, I'm in a position to do this. I can help be a leader and I can show them a different way to help them through this. And you feel like your heartstring getting pulled to help out people, sometimes from the same background or the same situation or worse situation that you were in. But I feel like it helps us motivate us to like, to certain things where let's say if we were, you know, born in Beverly Hills, maybe it wouldn't be like that, right?
Well, I mean, I know you would still be
What it was?
nice.
Yeah, no, 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 yeah, but still though.
You still would be that
No,
person.
no. No, thanks. And again, yeah, it doesn't mean that automatically we're gonna be nice or somebody's born in a different situation that they're not going to be. But I think certain situations have helped us, if you take it and do something good with it.
Which brings me to my final question for you, Mr. Frandy. I keep going back to the smile, man. I keep going back to the smile, man. Like, if someone was randomly gonna pull up on you and say these words, like, um, why are you so nice? Like, is it like an authentic answer? Like, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you say, "This is why I'm so nice"?
I feel blessed, but I think about all the people that have been nice to me in different ways. And I feel like it's like kind of like my obligation to be nice too. I try to look at some of the positive things, and even when I'm struggling or not feeling good and I'm not nice all the time, my kids will tell you, and my wife. But but I know like if you're going through something hard, or if you're upset at something or going through a hard day, being nice helps. Like smiling helps. You know, like it can change the way you are on the outside. It can help change the way you feel in the inside.
Yeah.
You know, so once I felt like more like on purpose about who I am and whom I'm supposed to be, then that just I feel like just made it bigger. You know, like the smiles, the positiveness felt better because I felt like this is who I am and I'm confident in who I am and what I can.
Yeah, I just want to say that you definitely are doing it. I just want to say your journey is definitely very inspirational. Like obviously, I've heard some of the stories. It's good to hear a lot more than on a more personal note. And I'm
Mm,
glad our listeners could actually hear from you directly. I feel
yeah.
like something that always is a common denominator for you is just being kind, right? It doesn't
Thanks.
cost that much to be kind, right? Just
Yeah,
showing
that's
up
it.
in your authentic self and just being kind to people because just being kind alone could possibly help somebody out, right? They could be
Oh, for
having a
sure.
bad day, but just knowing that they have the support of people being kind and not that negative energy that this world kind of provides us on a regular basis, not being easily persuaded by the negative influences that are out there. So the fact that your space is a barbershop, but also a house, a hotel, a foster home,
Uh,
it's all these things in one, and you are the man to kind of do it all. So, Frandy,
uh,
thank you so much for just
nah,
being a part of the
it's been a
show and being here present with us.
no, it's been a pleasure to be on this. You know, thank you and Greg for having me on. It's a pleasure being your friend. You know, it was great going to school with you guys, and
Yeah, come on, man.
I know we're busy, but like, and also like with the fraternity, I learned so much about like community involvement and giving back. So to me, I knew about it growing up. And sorry to go back on it. I knew about it growing up, but then like with the fraternity, like having those volunteer hours and like
Yeah,
again having it in the core like of what we do, the way we had a great time, fun time, you know.
yeah,
But like,
yeah.
but it was there, and like that brotherhood was there, so it definitely helped set the path and like make it more a part of who I am,
Mm,
and I have like being part of it. Um, to thank for that. So
hmm
yeah.
Well, Mr. Frandy, I would just I would just step for you and stroll
Thank you.
all the way off of this right
No,
here. But
thank you.
thank you so much, Franny, for your
I
time.
appreciate you.
And
Thank
I
you.
want to let the listeners know if you want to hear more inspirational stories like the one and only, the man himself, the legend, Mr. Franny, please check us out on ZakaConnect.com and follow our social at Zaka Connect on our local feed whenever you listen to your podcasts.